How are you developers? I hope you are fine. Welcome to the week 2 of the web development course where we're learning about HTML, and today we learn about the HTML text formatting tags. So HTML text formatting tags are essential elements used to structure and style text content within a web page. These tags allows web developer to apply various formatting options to text, making it visually appealing and improving the overall readability of the content. If you have been following this course, you know that there is a repo that we forked which contains all the resources that we need for the course. And today, to get today's resource, you can just go to the repo and update your repository by clicking the sync fork button. Then go to your Visual Studio Code and type git pull to pull the changes in your local machine. So without much ado, let's dive in. Once you open Visual Studio Code and you pull the changes, you'll see that there is a new folder that will be created there in Explorer, and it is called 06 formatting. And inside the folder there are two files, the index.html file and the readme file. The index.html file is the file which we'll use to write our code, and the readme file is the file that contains the notes. You can hit on your markdown previewer to view the notes in a good manner, and also you can just drag your HTML there and your notes there so that you can start today's class. As we said earlier, that today we learn about text formatting elements in HTML, and the first element that we look about is the B element or the B tag. So I'll write in the code the B element. I just use comments to write the code because, as we discussed earlier, that comments are used to document your code. So I can write a comment there and write B element, then below it is where I can write the B tag itself. So the B tag is used to turn a text to bold. For example, I can say this is a bold text. When you save and go to the browser, you can see that the text is bold. So let's go to the browser and see that the text is bold. So when you go to the browser, you can see that the text that you wrote there is bold because it has a bold font to it. The next element that we look about is the strong element. And the strong element is used to emphasize a text, to show it has importance. And the strong element is written using the strong tag. You can say this text is important. And when you save and go to the browser, you can see that the text will be bold. So the strong tag usually is displayed using bold. Let's go to the browser and see the strong tag. When you go to the browser, you can see that the strong tag, the second text is bold. And you can ask yourself what the difference between the B tag and the strong tag. Because when you see the output is just the same. But the difference is the B tag is used to display a bold style to the text. And the B tag is just a presentational element, indicating that the text should be displayed in a bold font. Whereas the strong tag is used to indicate that the enclosed tag has a strong importance or emphasis. And the strong tag is a semantic tag. And semantic tags say that semantic tags are tags that have meaning. So when a screen reader comes across the strong tag, it will read the strong tag with emphasis. And that is the difference between the strong tag and the B tag. The next element is the I element or the I tag. I element. And the I element is used to turn the text into italic. So if you put here I, then say this text. This text is italic. When you go to the browser and save this one, you'll notice that the text is in italics. Just save it and go and see it in the browser. When you go to the browser, you'll notice that the third text, this one here, is written in italics. And that is the work of the I element. The next element is the EM element or the em tag. We'll just write em element. So the em element is used to emphasize a text. You can say em. You can say this text is emphasized. So let us go to the browser and see how the em text looks like. And you'll notice that I put the br tag after every element because these elements are inline elements, and we say that inline elements do not start on a new line. So I just put this break line here to create a break line so that the next text can start in a new line. So let's go to the browser and see how the em tag looks like. When you look at the fourth text, this one here, it's the text that we use the em element. But you notice that this text is similar to this one here. But here we use the I element and here we use the em element. And you can ask yourself what the difference between the I element and the em element. Similar to the B and the strong, that's also the case with the I and the em element. So the I element is used just for presentation display. It's used to turn a text to italic. But when you surround your text with the em element, it turns the text to italic, but it also carries a meaning. So the em element is a semantic tag that indicates that this text should be emphasized. So when screen readers read the text, they'll read it with some emphasis. The next element is the mark element. So you just write a comment and say mark element. And the mark element is used to mark a text or just to highlight a text. Let us see how the mark element is used. You can just say mark, then say this text is highlighted. Highlighted. Yeah. So let's go to the browser and see how the mark element is displayed. So when you go to the browser, you'll see that the marked element is highlighted with a yellow background. And as we said earlier, that the mark element is used to highlight or mark a specific portion of text within a document. And it is often used to draw attention or to identify a relevant or significant content. Also, the mark element is a semantic tag, meaning it goes beyond representation. So it carries meaning about the marked text. The next element is the small element. Just write a comment and say small element. And the small element is used to display smaller text or text that has less significance than the surrounding text. So you can say this is a small text. Let's go to the browser and see how the small text looks like. When you go to the browser, you notice that the small text is smaller in size. As we said that it is less significant than the surrounding text, because in most cases the small text is nested inside other text to show that the small text has less significance. And also the small text is a semantic, the small element is a semantic tag that provides a way to convey that the enclosed text will be displayed at a reduced font size. And the visual representation, such as the actual size reduction, is typically handled by the browser. But keep in mind that the small tag is a semantic tag, so it adds meaning to the content. The next element is the del element. Or right here, the del element. And the del element is used to indicate that a text has been deleted or it has been removed from the document. Say this text is deleted. So let us see how the del element appears in the browser. When you go to the browser, you'll see that the text within the del element is rendered with a strike through line to visually indicate that the text has been deleted. As we said earlier, that the del element is used to represent a text that has been deleted or removed from a document. And also the del element is a semantic tag that helps to convey changes or revision in the content. And that is how you use a del tag. So the next element is the ins element. And the work of the ins element is used to indicate that a text has been added or inserted into the document. And the ins element is like this text. So let us go to the browser and see how the ins element looks like. You can see that in the browser, the ins element renders text with an underline to visually indicate that the text has been inserted. We have said that the ins element is used to represent text that has been inserted or added to a document. And also the ins element is a semantic tag that helps convey changes or revisions in the content. And that is how you use an ins element. The next element that we look about is the sub element. And the sub element is used to indicate a subscript text. And in most cases, it is used to write like mathematical expressions or chemical formulas. We'll use the sub element with the paragraph so that you can see how the sub element is in action. We say the chemical formula of water is H2O. But now we want this 2 to be a little bit below the normal line, so it's around the 2 with the sub element. We'll put the 2 inside the sub. Let us save and look it in the browser to see how it appears. When you open your browser, you'll notice that the number 2 is appearing smaller and is a little below the baseline. And that is what we call the subscript. We say that the sub element is used to define a subscript text. And a subscript text appears smaller and is typically positioned below the baseline of the surrounding text. And that is how you use it in action. And also the sub element does not imply any specific visual styling by default. All the stylings are handled by the browser. However, you can use CSS to apply specific styles if you need. The next element is the sup element. And the sup element is used to define a superscript text. We will also use a paragraph in this class and say that today is 22nd January. But we want the ND to be a little bit above the normal line. So it's around the ND with the sup tag or the sup element. We move this ND and put it inside here so that it can be a little above. It can be above the normal line. So let us save it and see how it appears in the browser. When you look at the browser, you'll notice that the ND is a little above the normal line. And that is what we said it's a superscript text. And you can notice it is a little bit smaller than the normal font. Also, to add on, you can see that both the superscript and the subscript are semantic elements because they carry meaning about the structure and the content of the document. And that is how you use the sup and the sub element. The next element is the keyboard element or the KBD, just KBD element. And the KBD element is used to define keyboard input. So to see it in action, I'll create a paragraph there and say to copy a text, use Ctrl plus C. So this Ctrl plus C is keyboard input, so I'll surround it using the KBD tags. Let us see how it appears in the browser. So you notice that the Ctrl plus C is written in monospaced font or a fixed width font, and it is styled to resemble the keyboard inputs. And that is how you use the KBD element. And the KBD element is a semantic element that is employed to represent text that the user is expected to enter from the keyboard. So it's a semantic element, so it carries some meaning, and that is how you use the KBD element. The next element that you're supposed to look at today is the code element. You can say a code element. And the code element is used to define a piece of computer code. So if you want to write a computer code, you can put it inside the code element. For example, I can write some JavaScript code here and say that x is equals to 5, then plus a semicolon. Then I can say y is equals to 3, then z is equals to x plus y. So this is a JavaScript code which I declared 3 variables. Variable x, I assigned it to the value of 5. Variable y, I assigned it a value of 3. And variable z, I assigned it the value of x plus y. And that is a JavaScript code. If I want to display the code in my browser, I can surround it inside the code element. So let us see how the code element looks like in the browser. When you look at the browser, you'll notice that the code we wrote does not have white space and line breaks because the code element does not preserve extra white space and line breaks. To fix this, you can put the code element inside a pre-element. So let us go back to our VS Code and wrap our code element inside the pre-element, then come back to the browser and view it. So to wrap our code inside the pre-element, we just write pre-element there, then nest our code element inside the pre, and we can add our line breaks so that they can appear in the browser. Let us save and go back to the browser and see how this code will look like. Let me just format it a little bit like that. Let us save and go to the browser and see how it will look like. So if you go to the browser, you'll notice that there is a line break after each line of code. In short, the way we formatted it in the code is the way that it appears in the browser, because we wrapped our code inside the pre tag. The pre or in full pre-formatted text tag removed the preserved our formatting and added white space and line breaks as we wanted it to appear. So that is how you use the pre tag and the code element in your browser. And that is what was meant to be taught in today's class. So see you in the next class. Peace out.